Good morning, comrades. You are listening to WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade. Jeff here today we actually have a very special guest. She's going to be Robert's permanent
I am
replacement on the
Robert.
show. She's Robert.
He has transformed.
Yes. We have,
I have
okay.
transformed. There we go. Sorry. Not playing this up really well yet. Already.
You sound just like him. It's
Yeah.
Anyway, she is Lisa Lou Who, aka Lisa is Learning. She is the hot girl of the week every week.
Every week.
Welcome to the program.
Hello.
Lisa, what's up?
I'm glad you gave me a proper intro there. I'm Hot Girl of the Week 2 weeks in a row, although it's only gone on for 2 weeks, and I'm the one who decides who's Hot Girl of the Week. So
2 for 2.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lisa. I don't know why I'm here, other than I was asked to be here.
She actually has a gun to her back right now. No, I wanted to talk to you because actually, I think you do actually a very interesting service to people.
Interesting. That's the word you always use when someone's
no. What I mean to say is that you actually Lisa is currently a Twitch streamer. She has a long background of being a cosplayer. She's
a weirdo.
Let's just grab you know what? Introduce yourself to the audience.
My little intro that I always give when people are new to the stream is that I was raised an evangelical Christian homeschool girly. I was also
I didn't know homeschool.
Yep, I was homeschooled. I guess I dated the head football player at schools I didn't go to. Because I was a theater kid. Anyway, that has nothing to do with anything. I then went on to work and become a professional dancer for a bit, meaning not like sexy. I worked at amusement parks like Disney and Nickelodeon Universe. And then I went on to become a professional cosplayer and I traveled the world. Lisa Lou Who is actually, you might, if you're a geek, know my work. I did end up on like the front page of Reddit a few times or end up on Philip DeFranco, SourceFed, Time Magazine. I won a reality TV show in 2017. I did a bunch of stuff. And then I went blind. And I'm not even kidding. I literally am legally blind. In both eyes, even the right eye that I currently have showing is very, very blind. So I spent, and that was 7 years ago. And now I'm a socialist. That's nice. What happened. That's the trajectory of my life.
The evangelical homeschooled to cosplayer to dancer to cosplayer to socialist pipeline is undefeated.
Yes. It's a pretty normal trajectory.
I skipped blind. I'm sorry.
Yes, there we go. The blind part. That one.
I will not do blind erasure on the show.
Honestly, the amount of cosplayers I knew though that ended up going down like the woke pipeline is actually pretty common because as soon as you like start out as an artist and you're like, look, I'm doing cosplay, I'm having fun, and then you get objectified like hell, like crazy, and it turns into a thing. It's pretty common actually, but going full socialist and now talking politics on Twitch is a whole nother level though.
Yeah,
I say that, and yet that's Denims. Denims does cosplay, and she is
There's
also
a lot of
politics girly. So
world, right?
I'm trying to think.
It has to be.
Sad Girl is also like e-girl turned politics. So like I said, I think it's actually pretty common once you have to face the adversity on the internet as a girl on the internet, you start actually waking up and realizing that you have to actually speak up. So
and you're seeing it less with like the woke liberals and more becoming socialists. I wonder why that is. You know what I mean? Like the anti-capitalist sort of like pipeline, because if this was 2016, we might just have a bunch of like former cosplayers turning into liberals, right?
Right. Yeah. I think like back during that time, because the thing is I wouldn't have kids like before I lost my vision and moved to England, which actually did a number on my like point of view on everything as well, because I was surrounded by a lot more just, national healthcare service and various social safety nets that Americans didn't have. And I got to witness that in person. It definitely changed my opinion on a lot of things. I also got to see firsthand how much the Tories had destroyed all of that, that England used to be or Britain used to be very proud of. So in general, that really broadened my point of view in that regard. Before that, though, I would say that I was just an SJW. I mean, I was a proud SJW, and I feel like a lot of cosplayers were, because like that was the extent to how far our political views went, was just to kind of that liberal, woke
Double.
way
Mhm.
of thinking. But now I've gone even farther where now I know, a lot more, and I'm trying my best to. I figure I'm not the like okay, the whole point of my Twitch channel is that I figure I'm not the only one out there trying to learn and wanting to make the world a better place in our current climate and want to do something about it. But I also am like, I don't know theory. I don't read I mean, I do read books, and actually
Sure.
I think I do now feel but when I first started, like, I didn't understand what was going on in Israel,
Mhm.
Gaza. I didn't understand.
Right.
I still don't understand what's going on in Ukraine, Russia. I didn't understand any of the things, like, what tariffs were. Like, I still am learning who like, the other day, I accidentally said I meant Dan Cranshaw, and who did I say? I said the Breaking Bad actor. What's
Oh.
his name?
Oh gosh, I
I
can't.
forget his name, but it's something similar, and my chat was like, "What are you even talking about?" And I'm like, "God, I don't know. I'm dumb. Please don't listen to me. I don't know
Bryan
anything."
Cranston? Were you thinking of Bryan Cranston?
Yeah, so I was thinking I meant Dan Cranshaw, and I said Bryan Cranston, and I was talking about Bryan Cranston as if, that was who I
Yeah.
meant, and everybody was like, "What are you on about?" And I'm like, "I don't
Dan
know."
Crenshaw is proof that not everyone that wears an eye patch is cool.
Exactly. He's the one and only. He's the one and only not cool eye patch wearing person in existence.
Mhm.
It's kind of funny because because I don't need to wear this eye patch. It's
Mhm.
because I have a lazy eye and I get double vision, so I wear it. There's other choices that I could be doing, whether it be just live with the double vision or for a while there I was wearing this like contact lens in that eye that like covered my vision. So it was a little more subtle, but eventually I was like, screw it, let's go eye patch because it's badass. And then everybody who comes into my chat, instead of making fun of me for having a lazy eye, they instead go, "You look like X character that I love from Metal Gear Solid or L Driver from Kill Bill." And I'm like, I'm okay with all of these. That is fine. Um, so yeah. Anyway,
One of the other things that we didn't mention in the wind up to this is also you're an artist, which I find it very interesting that you are blind and you still do art. So tell us a little bit about that.
so yeah, I as so when I went blind, so obviously before I went blind, I was actually like a pretty prolific cosplayer, and I wasn't just like throwing on cat ears and calling myself I was an award-winning cosplayer. I mean, I was an artist. I was a professional artist before that. Of course, it was like a combination as a cosplayer. I not only made the costumes, but I wore them, so it was like this combination of modeling and photography and
Mhm.
making the costumes and content creation and social media. Like it's this really great for someone who loves to do a little bit of everything. It was perfect for me. So when I went blind, I was in a horrible denial phase. I was like, nah, I can do it all anyway. Who needs sight? Screw that. No
Mhm.
one needs sight. And I learned how to sew like right away and learned how to make cosplay as soon as I lost my vision. I was back at a sewing machine. I made like Ivy Valentine from Soul Calibur within like weeks after losing my vision. I made Rogue
Nice.
from X-Men, like the full bodysuit. Because like that's the thing is before that I did when I was a dancer, I was also in the costuming department. So I was really good at making bodysuits and stuff like stretch material cosplay costumes. So anyway, um eventually though,
Ivy
over
Valentine is
time.
a some crazy work.
Yeah, it
It's
was
a amazing
her
costume.
outfit from 4, so it's like this
Mhm.
kind of got a Victorian vibe with like yeah,
Mhm.
it was a choice that I made. The worst
Mhm.
part was the armor part because I still struggle with painting.
Mhm.
Like the thing about cosplay and being like as blind, so I'm not fully blind. I have
Mhm.
this little tiny bit of tunnel vision in my right eye. It's cloudy and colorless. So like I use as that to the best of my ability. So that's the thing is like I quickly realized and discovered over time that, like, tactily, sewing is fine because you use your hands a lot and you're feeling what you're doing. I can even, like, feel the stitches. I can make sure I'm going straight on the sewing machine. I can do all that. But with painting, because I'm painting with a brush and I have, like, no depth perception, trying to get the brush to do what I want, and then also I'm colorblind, so, like,
Mhm.
mixing paints or doing whatever, I can't tell what I'm doing. That is when I learned that doing digital art was almost like doing art with accessibility tools because I can use RGB to make up for my color blindness. So now I don't have to worry about mixing a paint and not knowing what color I made. Instead, I can look at the RGB and determine, okay, it's the right brightness. Like usually I personally actually use HSB, so hue, saturation, brightness, and I look at that, determine if it's in the scale, and then if I need to change the color a little bit, I just hit those dials. And so anyway, eventually, the thing about cosplay is it's really expensive. So,
Yeah.
like it's an expensive hobby, especially as things started to go up in price just in general. Um, so I started just dabbling. I want this is a story about me learning to be an artist. I don't know. I'm gonna just quickly go through it. Is that I had my wedding and I
That's
was
why
making
you're here. You're here. You're
yeah,
here
yeah.
to talk to us.
Okay. I got married in England and I decided to because I really think that the flower industry is very unethical. I decided to make my own paper flowers out of recycled paper. Um, and that involved me learning how to use I bought a Cricut and cut out all the flowers, which meant that in that process I had to learn how to use Adobe Illustrator and I got one of those, like, masterclass courses online for Adobe Illustrator. Like, I bought the subscription to, like, masterclass or whatever. I forget what it was called, but it was, like, one of those ones that taught me, like, step by step how to learn Adobe Illustrator because I had to make my own flowers for that. And in that process, there was also classes on how to do fashion design, like CAD fashion design. And so I was like, "You know what? This seems to be going well. Like, I'm learning the program. Why don't I learn fashion design?" And from there, I started to realize that there was so much I could do through digital art. Like the thing is that basically I can use a program like Adobe Illustrator to make up for all the things that I struggle with in person. So, for example, I have my computer really close to my face. I can zoom in really close and be able to like all the things that I struggle to see with. Also, because I personally use Adobe Illustrator because once again, drawing with my hand is really difficult because my hand goes in and out of my vision so quickly. Like seriously, I can only see like here as I look in front of me, right? Like there's a short range.
Mhm.
Whereas like with mouse and keyboard, I can work around that issue.
Mhm.
And then of course, yes, the thing I struggle with too is that I can't see the difference between two different colors very easily. So instead, I do vector art. It's a unique style that I've developed over time using inspirations like Tokidoki, who uses inspiration from Ukiyo-e and Van Gogh. So there's like old artists that he uses as an inspiration, and I'm inspired by him and used his he had like a master class at one point so that I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize he uses all exclusively Adobe Illustrator like I do, which means that I could probably, and from there I started mimicking his style. I'm super self-taught. I've now been doing digital art for like 4 years, and it's been really nice to just
Mhm.
have this skill, and I love doing it. It's like I said, it's like creating cosplay except without the barriers of um it being completely, the thing is there was times when I created cosplays and I had no clue if it looked the way that I wanted it to look. I just had to hope. Whereas now I can kind of assume it looks the way that I intended because I have the way to check it. Like the one time I showed up to a convention and I'd made my own version of Fern from Critical Role Campaign 3. And I purposely meant for there to be an ombre. I had made my own design because I'm like Fern is very green themed and I can't see the color green. So instead, I made a spring version of her where it was like all pink. Um, and so I made this like ombre thing where it was supposed to go from pink to green. And then I got there and I asked like one of my friends who wasn't colorblind, like, because keep in mind too, my ex-husband was also colorblind and he couldn't see red or green. So the fact
Yeah,
that I had
nobody's
made
seeing
this
colors around here.
I know, it was like I couldn't go to him and be like, "Hey, does this look the way I want it to?" Because he couldn't see it either. So it
Mhm.
wasn't until I was with a friend at the con and I was like, "Hey, so does this cape go from pink to green like I intended?" She's like, it's more like a pink to like ugly gray. It didn't really work." And I'm like,
Which
"No,
green is a
God damn
pretty
it."
commonly, especially in men, right?
Yep,
Commonly,
10% of men
green is.
have color
Mhm.
blindness, and I think a good chunk of that is red green color blindness. It's why in gaming they usually have some kind of feature that can assist with that. Um, but yeah. So anyway, that's how I got into digital art, and from there it just became something that I just did as a hobby, and now it actually works for my Twitch stream quite often. Um, that I like just I need to do little things all the time, whether it be my overlays or right now I'm working on my starting soon screen or my emotes. Like there's just and then of course in that case with the emotes, the animated emotes, I've now had to learn how to do animation. Like I'm just learning stuff all like Lisa is learning. Lisa very much is learning in every way, shape, or form. It's the way I like to be. If I
Yeah, a
could
lot
just
of pink,
spend
lot of
every
pink raccoons.
yes, with my mascot being a pink raccoon for some reason. I don't know how that even started or why, but screw it, it works.
It's there. You
Yes.
are listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade. We're here with Lisa Lu Hu, aka Lisa is Learning, joining us. We were just talking about her digital art, and one of the things I do think about that is interesting about how you do your digital art is you will do it live on like in the mornings. You'll just be if you go to her Twitch stream, which is at Lisa is Learning, you can actually see her doing her work in real time. It's very cool.
Yeah,
If she's not yapping or watching
I was gonna
something.
say if I'm not stuck yapping about whatever the heck we're talking about at the moment, because yeah, it's funny. I had started out. Normally my streams were just for 4 hours in the afternoon, from like noon to 4, and then I started at 9, and from 9 to noon, I was like, oh my gosh, I'll have 3 hours, 3 hours in the morning to get art done and watch long form podcasts and stuff with my chat. And it turns out after the last few weeks of me doing that, that I just end up sitting there talking. So, which is fine because I mean, I do love talking. There's a reason I'm a Twitch streamer. Um, so yeah, but if you ever want to watch that, that's a thing. And I mean, I also do like to explain my process as a unique. I don't think I'm any. Well, okay. Here's the thing: is that like I don't really care if I'm good at it.
Mhm.
And because I can't really see it myself, it doesn't really matter. So I'm
It's
just
all
out
about
here
the
trying my
feedback.
best. What?
I said it's all about the feedback.
Exactly. And you know what? And that's the thing too is I'm not really into feedback because I've been as a cosplayer getting feedback from like critiques from people all my life as a cosplayer, and all my response always is like, "Do you cosplay?" Like I didn't ask for your opinion. Like I took critiques from people who were well-known cosplayers or some people who were really talented. I loved their critiques, but if they were just a rando on the internet, I was like, "I'm sorry, your opinion doesn't matter to me."
Yeah, you talk ball with ball knowers exclusively.
Exactly, exactly.
um, so one of the things that also, so you said you were new to this sort of like you had a political awakening, I suppose you could say. Can you
Yes.
describe how that took place and sort of like what you had seen and how you kind of got from where you are
Yeah,
to where you
so
currently are?
I think that's the kind of the thing is that as I explain my life, I realized that like even though I was grew up homeschooled and evangelical, I had a very untraditional. Like I don't think I realized how untraditional it was until I started like doing these Twitch streamer stuff and saw how wacky, um, wacky the right can be, that I realized that my way of growing up was very unique. And even though I was like an evangelical Christian, I was always LGBTQ plus, like loving. I mean, I was in theater and dance. I was surrounded by queer people my entire life. So it was kind of like that was not going to work for me to be. I mean, then again, I say that, and there was definitely bigoted people in my uh life back then. I got to a point where I couldn't handle it anymore. Anyway, then again, I would say that all through my 20s I struggled with and kind of grew into being like as I became a cosplayer and experienced lots of misogyny in the cosplay scene, I started becoming a feminist. Once I actually, started talking and like exposing myself to all different types of people, I started like, and just maturing and getting older. I started actually to see the,
Test.
um, are you there?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Keep going. Keep going.
I started to notice the unfairness of the world. I think that's the thing. It's like, of course, as I got older, I started to actually mature and notice the inconsistencies on. I brought in my circle and saw, hey, wow, the other cosplayers I'm hanging out with, they come from way wealthier backgrounds, and that gave them a leg up in the world that I did not have growing up. Um, and it's all very unfair. And I think that started to really open my eyes to that. And then once I started traveling the world and seeing how other countries live with proper social safety nets and
Mhm.
realizing how much America sucks in so many ways, that really started to expose me to it. But I would say that like I was into politics when I was younger because I loved The West Wing, and I know that's really cheesy and silly, but it is true that, like,
Sorkin had an impact. Sorkin was very
I mean,
influential, regardless
yeah, and,
of whether
like,
or not he was good, right?
I think, yeah, that's the thing is that, like, I would say the ages between 11 and 16, I was thinking of going into politics. I really wanted to work in the West Wing. I was very much into American history and to the American legacy. And I had that idyllic idea of what it should be until I actually started to look into it and realize that is not what it is at all, that all politicians are corrupt. I knew that when I was younger. And then all through my 20s, I was like, there's no point in me getting into politics because I think that that's meant for people who are delusional and think that you can actually create any kind of change. So I was a nihilist all through
Mhm.
my 20s and kind of didn't care. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try and live my life the best way that I can. But after Trump won a second time, and then I definitely think that like in 2020 when Biden won and then nothing happened from that, once
Mhm.
again just was disillusioned. I was like, okay, so we tried our best and nothing happened. Um,
Not only I'm sorry, but, like, not
yeah,
only did nothing happen, but, like, Democratic, like, operatives and whatever are also at the exact same time saying, like, "This is the greatest presidency in the history since FDR," or some crazy stuff
right.
like that, and it makes you feel like, "Hold on, something's wrong here." I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
interrupted you, but, like,
No,
I
no,
think
no,
that
no,
was
no, that's
important
fair.
to
I
sort
think
of
that that's and, like, the thing is I don't think I even realize until I hear other people expressing it that I realize because like, I disconnected. I
Mhm,
disconnected entirely. Like, I just got really discouraged and disconnected. It also doesn't help that I was moving from England to America, so there was a bit of a purposeful disconnect from American culture and
mhm.
American politics that just made it I was like, "Well, that doesn't really matter to me anymore. Screw that."
Can I ask you a question about
Mhm.
so the period that you were in the UK, were you there for, like, the Corbyn mania period? Jeremy Corbyn?
No.
No.
I left England in 2022. So I was there from 2017 to 2022. So I was there during Boris Johnson, the transition for Brexit, and all of the like limbo of that. And then the
Mhm.
changing from Brexit to um some lady to then
Yeah.
some dude.
Mhm.
And I left only like a month after the Queen died. So even when it comes to
That's really
politics,
recent.
yeah,
That's really
yeah.
recent.
Okay, so that's the thing is I know the name Jeremy Corbyn, but once again,
Mhm.
I think I was getting to a point where I was like, "Okay, I'm not into American politics. I'm only just learning
Mm.
British politics."
Yeah.
And it was a slow process, and by the time I, felt like I was starting to get to know things, I left my husband.
Yeah.
So,
So that
I'm back in America.
yeah.
Um
That was a really interesting time in British politics because, like, and, you know, it seems that you weren't aware of it, but that was what Jeremy Corbyn was essentially like, you know, social like, essentially what we would call, or like at least most of Europe would call a social democrat, while and the Labour Party was, like, super exciting during that period, at least in America,
when was
from the
that?
perspective this was, you know, late 2019s, early 2020s,
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
he had essentially taken over the Labour Party. They were looking at potentially going like essentially he was ready to take over with when you know when Boris Johnson was in there he was primed to be the next prime minister, but the kind of the old establishment like right wing of the Labour Party essentially smeared Jeremy Corbyn as an anti-Semite,
Right.
and ruined his you know essentially ruined his career and cast him out of the party, and he's been
Yeah, and, now that you
marginal
say
figure
that,
since.
I'm pretty sure the, like, my community that I was a part of were super lived up, and I'm pretty sure they believed it. Like, then again, they
Yeah.
weren't really just like Americans, they weren't
Hmm.
really deep into politics, so they didn't
Yeah.
understand that it was a smear campaign, and so I think that's why we didn't talk about Jeremy Corbyn because I think he got written off as an anti-Semite,
Hmm.
and no one looked further into it. Like, then again, the reason I ended up voting for Elizabeth Warren in the primaries in 2020 was because my lived up British boyfriend told me to. And I just didn't care enough to actually look into it. And he was like, she's a really good choice. You should vote for her. And so,
Hmm.
like, once again, didn't give in to understand the dynamic there and the smear campaign of Bernie Sanders and all
Sure.
this other stuff. So, like, in other words, I really do think my boyfriend, ex husband, did give in because he was British, so he couldn't vote for her. So he had me, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's kind of the thing is like I think
Vicariously voting through you.
yes. So, and like I said, I was too I mean, I was in a pretty bad that's the thing, is like just because 2019, because I was there doesn't mean I was paying attention. I was in a grieving
Sure.
process that was beyond what you could ever imagine. So, my brain was not all there. And even like that
No,
with
no, no.
voting, I kind of was just a husk of a human at that time. So, the fact that I even got out of bed and went to the voting booth was because like during the actual pandemic, I was in America. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that goes to show you that I yeah,
That's
that's
you don't
why.
need to make excuses or anything like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, but
fine. You don't need to
still,
explain
it's
yourself.
just one of those things that that's what I mean, though. That's where I say, like, I am
Mhm.
really new to this. I am your typical I feel like I represent a very typical American in the fact that, like, a lot of people on the internet, in particular, a lot of content creators have been in the scene for a long I mean,
Yes.
you've been in it for 7 years. Finding out that, like, the people I watch, like Kyle Kalinske, have been around, or the Majority Report has been around for, like, 20 years, and they've been in the scene. I do feel like in a way that, on one hand, like, I definitely think there's value to that because then you know the history of everything that's gone on throughout, whereas
Yeah.
I don't. But at the
God
same
bless you
time
for that, by the way. Thank God you don't have to know these things a lot
I
of
know,
times.
that's kinda my thing, is, like, I don't wanna know who Jordan Peterson is. I didn't need to know because he's a has-been, but now I do because people talk about him still, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, there's like a
um
trajectory. There's like a strain from like Jordan Peterson to like the clavicular or whatever the hell,
Oh
you know,
my
these
god,
people in
yes.
modern day.
Okay, and, clavicular, oh my god. I was interested in him briefly until I
Mm.
watched him on Adam Friedland, who is my hero and my inspiration. He interviewed him and made clavicular completely showed that he has no riz and
Yeah.
has nothing
Absolutely
going for
exposed
him.
him. Exposed him.
Yes. I mean, as Adam Friedland does. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing. He's so good at that, where he gets people comfortable in any way that he can and then gets them to he's disarming and then he gets them to and that's the thing, is that since then Clavicular's done other interviews and he looks like an asshat every time. So, um yeah, it works out. But
Well,
most of those people do.
I do want to circle back a little bit
Mhm.
to, I mean, again, we saw at like a lot of the way that these sort of like really it's an international liberal establishment works to prevent essentially even the most basic of social democratic reforms is a major theme how we've talked about it on this show since we started, it had been probably even
Yeah.
before that. But the idea is never by these sort of like liberal establishments that it wants to maintain the current situation. They don't want to oppose the genocide in Gaza. They don't want to oppose the war in Iran. They don't want things like healthcare, but they want to be sort of like framed in opposition to the Republicans. What they end up doing is like have these very minor distinctions that they make, these sort of like technical distinctions, like, oh, Trump doesn't know what he's going on, or competency distinctions, or he didn't follow the rules, or whatever.
Yeah. It's
And
because
then
they have the same rulers. They have the same
well,
overlords.
and not just that, then they'll find somebody like a Corbyn or a Bernie or a Abdul Sayed or
You know, a Hassan
Hassan
Piker.
Piker, and
By the
then just
way, I
sort of
forgot
like,
to start the stream by saying I meant to do this because I knew you were going to do some hard hitting questions here, but I
mhm,
wanted to make sure that I let everybody know that I've never been funded by APAC. APAC. I never intend to
okay,
take any funding from APAC, and
okay.
also just to even that out, I do condemn Hassan Piker.
Good. Okay,
I
that's what I was
condemn
about to
him.
do. Condemning Bernie and condemning Corbyn and all those people. That was wrong. But condemning Hassan Piker is right.
Yes. I condemn Hassan Piker for all the different reasons, though. It's because he's too hot.
Yeah,
The freckles go a little too far, and
because he
I
shocks his
think,
dog with a shock collar.
yeah, and his terrorism, it's so terrifying. Yeah, no, I just still condemn Hassan Piker. So I just wanted to make it even it out, and I knew you were gonna ask me my opinions on all this, and I just wanted to get it out of the way. That
Mhm.
yep.
Good, good. Then you will be welcomed back to this program. Now you
Yes.
said exactly what I wanted you to say.
Okay,
Um,
good.
You were listening to WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3. This is Good Morning Comrade. Lisa is learning. Lisa Lu, who is our guest. And we're talking actually about sort of like the way the Western political establishment sort of like maintains itself. And again, it's through these acts of like again, technical distinguishing from the fascists, the warmongers, and just basically honing in and rat effing people who are actually pushing for reforms. And I don't know
Right.
if you wanted to talk about that a little bit,
Yeah, the fact that
except for
we
Hassan, of
just
course.
named we just named mostly politicians and then one Twitch streamer because
Mhm.
lately that's been the
I
target of
condemn all
these.
Twitch streamers, by the way.
Wait, what?
I condemn all Twitch streamers,
Oh,
by the
you
way.
condemn all Twitch streamers? Well, I mean, that's fair. We're all weirdos. So, that makes sense. But yeah, no, that's something, and like that's the thing. I will say that like in the past I did not understand that that was going on. I guess
Mhm,
it's weird because in my head I knew that all politicians are corrupt, but at the same
mhm,
time, like when the Democrats said, I mean, okay, and here's the thing is that I think
mhm,
all politicians are corrupt, and therefore I never trusted Bernie. I never
mhm,
trusted him. I always was like, nah, he's got to have ulterior motives. I don't get it. I don't get like I just didn't trust any politicians. So when it came to Bernie, I was already on the fence being like, no, I think that he's probably not as good of a person as he claims to be. I bet he's just misleading people. Therefore,
mhm,
when those rumors were, or those lies were spread about him, it was just easy for me to believe it and confirm it.
mhm.
I mean, it
Same
doesn't
thing
help
happened
that
with
he is
Graham Plattner now too, right?
right, right, and that's kind of the thing is like, and that's the thing is I think they take advantage of the fact that lots of people are, I mean, really wary of old white men too. I mean,
Mhm.
we've
Yeah.
been, and not that Graham is old, but for Bernie, I definitely think that that played a role where I was like getting upset at the fact that, I mean, with Elizabeth Warren is back in 2020, where I was like, well, the reason people are saying that they shouldn't vote for Elizabeth Warren is because she's a woman and she has a less likely chance. And I just think that that defeats the whole point of a primary is that we shouldn't have those kinds of that kind of way of thinking, because how do you, it's a catch 22 then, of course. If you think that people aren't going to vote for women and they don't for women because they think that women won't win, then yeah, of
Mhm,
course a woman's not going to win. You're creating the problem. So yeah, anyway, it just is interesting being in that outside perspective and here
mhm,
knowing that from the outside, really realizing that I got duped by
mhm,
that marketing, and now being on the inside and feeling like I get it, but
mhm.
also I'm I'm sad that it works. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sad that that works sometimes. I don't think it's working anymore. I think people are we're in a completely different climate than we were 6 years ago
Mhm,
or prior to that.
mhm,
Um where I think people are waking up and looking and realizing that the Democrats are paid off by corporations to say and do
mhm,
these things. And therefore they're the untrustworthy ones. I think
mhm,
nowadays, I mean, there was just a poll that came out by Zateo that talked about the Michigan race where
mhm,
people are it's a normie thing. It's like normal people, not just internet chronically online people, but normie people are using APAC as a litmus test to determine if they trust a candidate or not. And
mhm,
that just goes to show you how different the climate is on if people are aware of the corruption in our system and how it
mhm,
affects even the people that they used to maybe trust. So,
mhm. Well, yeah. I mean, like the sort of like media and political establishment of the sort of like center left has gone. I think they've like really discredited themselves, specifically on the Israel thing, right?
mhm.
Like that was the thing where when people start to see, these images of these bombed out neighborhoods and these, I mean, you can't avoid or you couldn't avoid the videos of just like people like damaged and
Oh,
wounded
and the
by
thing is
weapons and
I
bombs and
did.
violence.
That's kind
Huh?
of the thing is like I think that it's interesting because people say you couldn't avoid it. I did. I
Hmm.
mean, uh, you
Well,
can
for
as an
for a
American
while, like
avoid
when
all of that information. And only like I still to this day, I know what
Mhm,
happened, but I've never like seen it on my feed. I never follow like okay, eventually, yes, never mind.
mhm.
It did end up coming into my feed, but it was only after like I said, Americans are very good at disconnecting.
Oh yeah,
It's
very very
very
good.
good at completely not paying attention to what's going on. But then again, if they do that, generally they're not also going to vote in a Democrat primary. So,
Right. Well,
um,
I guess what I mean to say is that like we have gotten to a point where enough people have been, seen enough of what has been going on, both with the with Israel doing a genocide in Gaza,
Mhm.
and with with the war in Iran, and seeing that, like, when when they have an image of a bombed out school or a hospital or some kid being horribly murdered or something like that, we've gotten to the point where when somebody from the ADL or somebody on television is like, well, if Israel's got a right to defend themselves, and if you say anything again otherwise, then you're anti-Semitic. That doesn't work anymore. And I guess
Right.
my question is, like, how did that, mechanically speaking, how did that flip happen? Because this is when you were sort of like learning about some of these kinds of things or becoming aware of them, as I suppose.
I mean, really, I mean, this is the thing is that when I started streaming on Inauguration Day in January, and I started out even that week. Stuff about it, news about Israel was coming out even then, of course. And then during the starvation campaign that happened last year, I did, I had, prior to that, when October 7th, so this is like normie behavior,
Hmm.
just to go over my normie story of finding out about that conflict, because otherwise I didn't care. It was like one of those things where I never thought the foreign policy had anything to do with me. I didn't see why people focused on it so much. I
Hmm.
also think that my way of thinking is that if you've never been there to that country and experienced the culture, I almost feel like this is how I used to feel, is that you
Hmm.
shouldn't feel like you have a say on what goes on there, because as someone who's traveled a lot, I can tell you that once you're in that environment and you talk to people, they have different points of view. And it's one of those things that I think, coming from an American perspective, sometimes it's very um American centric to think that all countries and what happens in other countries can be applicable to your worldview, right? That being said, obviously, I don't feel that way anymore. That you can be objective about knowledge that you know about the
Hmm.
news, and it have nothing to do with, say, your standpoint or your view, like a
Hmm.
local point of view. Anyway, just thought I'd say that, like, I know
Yeah.
that with when October 7th happened, I actually I didn't know it happened. All I noticed was that people were starting to be pro Palestine or pro Israel on the internet, and people started putting it in their bios. And then I
Hmm.
heard a story about Jenna Ortega being pro Palestine and it being controversial. And I was like, I don't understand why this is a thing. Like, why are people talking about this so much? I watched like a 30-minute video on YouTube on October 7th and the conflict there. And I was like, okay,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm always like, I'm a punk. I've been a punk my whole life. I'm going to be anti the oppressor. Um, and therefore
Yeah.
I am pro Palestine. And that was the extent of it. That was the extent of my
Yeah.
knowledge. That was the extent of my stance. I was like, if anybody ever asks me for some reason, I'm pro Palestine.
Yeah.
But from there, I kind of didn't know. And I think it didn't come up in conversation like
Hmm.
in normal life. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't a thing. And so it
It
was
doesn't
one of
have to,
those.
but it's people avoid talking about these things all
Exactly,
the time.
exactly. And like I said, and like as a normie, a lot of people in the world go through their lives without thinking that it affects us. Like I didn't realize or know that my tax dollars were going to Israel. I didn't know how much we were entangled in Israel. Like that was not a thing. I didn't know about any of that. And to be honest, it wasn't until I started watching Hasanabi on Twitch, Hassan Piker,
Who we
and
denounce and
yes,
reject,
who
of
we
course.
denounce and condemn. But I started watching him on there, and then I actually got really annoyed every time he'd bring it, like, because the thing is that he talks about it a lot. Like that's a
Yeah.
huge focus of his stream. He streams 8-hour days. I would say like 4 hours of that sometimes is about Israel.
Sometimes the
And
whole 8 hours.
sometimes the whole 8 hours, and I started out tuning it out,
Mhm.
as in I would literally turn him off when he would go on rants about it, because I was like, "I don't understand what this has to do with me." But there would be times where I'd leave it on, and as I left it on and kind of got exposed to that narrative, I realized, "Wow, okay, I like he," because I liked him as a creator and I liked
Mhm.
hearing his point of view, it got me to be more open-minded to this, and it got
Mhm.
me to actually start doing my research on it and realize that this was a concern. And then, of course, with that became the exposure of realizing how much money our tax dollars go to Israel to bomb
It's
children in
outrageous.
Gaza, yes, and how they have free healthcare and they have free education and we don't. And
Mhm.
we, of course, supplement their defense budget. Therefore, the money their tax dollars can go to those things, and yet we don't have that. And
Mhm.
just in general, it became a thing where I was getting more and more upset. And then, of course, that made me realize why. And then, of course, like, why? Why is this happening? And then realizing the source is because of lobbying and APAC
Mhm.
and even our mostly, I mean, our Democrats are compromised in that regard. And
Mhm.
anyway, it was actually the constant exposure to that media. But I would say most Americans, and even like I said, for me, it took me really liking a content creator that couldn't shut up about it for me to actually put myself in an uncomfortable position to learn about it. Um, but I don't think most people do that.
Mhm.
Um,
I
but
can tell you
I
what doesn't work though is if you are not likable or normal or anything like that, and you just scream at people and tell them why they're a bad person if they don't think the thing that you do, which is like unfortunately one of the things that we see at least with the online left.
Yes, definitely. And that is a very much a critique that I had when I wanted to come into the scene and bring a different vibe to it because um I I, as a woman, am used to being condescended to, but that doesn't mean I put myself into positions where I am. And just
Right.
the way that a lot of leftists kind of talk, it's very I mean, not just leftists, but even like Democrats. I remember seeing an
Oh
interview
god.
with
James
like,
Carville, this freaking guy, he
yeah.
just immediately comes to mind. This
Oh, and the
little
one I always think about is
deflated Shrek looking guy.
the one I always think about is Jasmine Crockett when she was approached being like, "Why do you support Israel?" And her tone was like, "Well, most people if they're not pro-Israel, it's because they don't actually know what they're talking about.
Oh,
They
that's the
don't
Hillary
actually
Clinton
understand the."
too. Hillary
Yeah,
Clinton does
yeah,
that all
Hillary
the
Clinton
time.
style. It's very condescending, and I think
Mhm.
that's really, really
People hate that,
unappealing to people. It's actually one of, I think, the main critiques of most right wingers is that Democrats are condescending. And
and they're
it
right.
yes. Yeah, and I mean, they are. And so it's like one of those things that I always say that to we need the left to be cooler. Um
True.
we were
It's
I mean, we were
true, like,
just
or at least not like we discussed this a little bit before we went on air, but, like, there's this problem in when we say normal. We don't
yes.
need we have a very, very, like, wide berth for what we mean to define folks like, I guess another word instead of normal would be relatable or make
Yes.
the because, I mean, it is 100% true that we are in a situation where inequality has never been greater than it is right now, even in the Gilded Ages, right?
Mhm.
Right now, literally, we're playing the nuclear war game by threatening Iran over and over again. I mean, and making it into almost like a television event. When a couple of weeks ago, Donald Trump was like, "Ah, 8 o'clock primetime television. We're going to glass Iran if they don't do everything that we say." That kind of stuff.
Right.
We're in a situation where Israel is doing a genocide on Gaza. It is very important to be effective in this moment to create change and just sort of like digging your heels in and just like assuming that people will get behind you because you have the morally correct position on this ain't going to do it.
Right, and that's kind of the thing is that I actually think that the left can take a lot of okay, and this is gonna sound really bad, bear with me, let's go through this. They can take a lot of lessons from the right where,
Mhm,
I mean, the right made politics part of their mainstream and they're cool.
mhm.
So,
Yeah.
even, it
I'm
wasn't
sorry,
initial
I don't mean to interrupt, but like Andrew Breitbart, you might not know who he is, but he was a publisher on the right years ago. Always would say, and he was correct about this, that politics was downstream of culture.
Yep. And I mean, that's kind of why I try to always, I mean, because I'm blind and I can't do like breaking news as a live streamer, what
Mhm,
I have a tendency to do is instead break down the culture and kind of understand how, my phrase is, how did we get here and where are we going? Because, like, in a lot of ways, I think that was what confused me when Trump won in 2024 is like, how did we
mhm,
get here? And one of the main ways we got here is because the right made politics part of their daily conversation instead of
mhm,
doing what I used to do, where we avoid talking about various topics, and on the left, where a lot of normies actually avoid talking about the various political topics. If you talk to someone on the right, it's a
mhm,
main point of conversation to talk about
mhm,
political content and what's going on in the news and what Trump did yesterday. And it's kind of like a reality TV show type way of thinking and talking. And partially it's because the right made politics cool. And they made it a community kind of thing. And I feel like if the left continues to be so condescending and unappealing, there is no way we're going to make a coalition of people wanting to be a part of it. And that's why, like, I know it sounds really superficial, but I do focus a lot on fashion and being
Mhm.
relatable and consuming media and talking about media and the relation to media. It's because um if you just like, in general, I've noticed with my live stream when I first started, of course, I was in the politics tag, and it attracted a lot of people who were like, of course. I mean, if you are going to Twitch platform and
Mhm.
you type in politics, clearly you are someone who is into politics, right? You're
Yeah, and
going
you
to be a
already have an ideological commitment in one way or
right.
another.
And, like, obviously, you are a politics nerd, and so really, in that case, you're just preaching to the choir, and I do think that there is value to that. I think that creating a community of like-minded people, creating a coalition amongst people is really good, but I definitely think there needs to be more people out there who are doing more, like, normie content with a dabble of politics, or doing it in a more normie way without all of the, Marxist Leninist wording. I try my best not to bring up the bourgeoisie and the proletariat and seizing the means of production, but basically giving that same sentiment. Instead, it's the Epstein class.
Critically important theoretical concepts, not gonna put it on your banner.
Yes, exactly. And at the same time, like, yeah, I think at this point, it's actually, I think the whole concept of the Epstein class and that being used by John Ossoff and Ro Khanna, and it becoming like something even my liberal mom says
Yeah.
is the equivalent of the bourgeoisie. So I can use normie wording to basically get the same theme across, right?
And plus you have the
Um,
association of the ruling class with the horrors of what they actually do. It's
exactly.
very,
Like
very
the
economical.
once again, normies are paying attention to the Epstein files saga, and therefore that makes it so that you can bring that. It's a cult. Politics is downstream from culture. That now is a part of pop culture, and therefore you can reference it and make it relatable to normies. Um, I mean, it does
Yep.
help that I'm hot, so I mean, I can get people to click on my thing and then listen to me
Mhm.
talk. Just like Hassan Piker, I think that one of the reasons that I listened to him talk about Israel Gaza so much, despite the fact that I did not want to hear about it, was because he's very attractive, not just
Mhm.
in his looks, but also just like in the way that he conducts himself.
Mhm.
He's funny, he's relatable. There's, and I do see more and more people popping up like that in the
Mhm.
leftist sphere, or at least at the very least, I'm discovering them,
Mhm.
which discoverability is hard.
Yeah.
But
In
yeah,
media, generally, yeah.
yes,
Unless you have a
exactly.
bunch of money, it's
Yep.
hard to get
Well,
discovered.
yeah, we're competing against money. I mean, as
Mhm.
anti-capitalists, it is always an uphill battle to be competing against moneyed interests and a system that is built on capital. Therefore, you have to be that much smarter about being attractive because, and I'm once again not just meaning physically attractive, I mean relatable and just like attracting. Um, you have to do that much more. Like, the right
Mhm.
can be as ugly and unappealing as possible because they've got money. They can just
Mhm.
put themselves on your algorithm through financial means, whereas the left has to actually do it through, actually having an appealing and
Gotta
popular
earn it.
message. Yep,
Mhm.
they have to earn it.
Gotta earn it, can't buy
We're
it.
the true meritocracy here. Um,
Or at least some kind of yield for work. I will say this though too, not just the right wing. I mean, we saw not even a year ago there was a scheme of essentially an attempt to grassroot a lot of sort of establishment Democrat content creators, I guess you would say,
yes. Oh, yeah, the chorus.
to essentially push to essentially create an atmosphere that independent media, which wasn't really independent,
Independent.
um,
Yes.
yeah, which wasn't really independent, was it was essentially like a washing or a what's the word I'm trying to just astroturfing of the sort of, and it was part of like it was a part of the I guess sort of saturation point of a lot of this scene, or yeah, a lot of the scene where you see Brian Tyler Cohen just like dumping tons of money and just trying to make this like there's Democrats wouldn't do this, or establishment liberals wouldn't do this if there wasn't an appeal to, like, if there wasn't value in independent media, or at least the
Oh, yeah.
appearance of independent media.
Yeah, and controlling the narrative that we are
Right.
saying, especially in that case with the Brian Tyler Cohen chorus situation. It was an incubator program where at
Mhm,
first they took some of them were quite small creators,
mhm.
and it was a way to, at the moment, make them feel like they had the freedom to say what they want. But eventually, knowing incubated programs of the past, like ones that have been done through YouTube, eventually they would tailor the message to fit their narrative. And with the dark money that was spent on that between, I mean, some of uh, donors were like of the 15 to $30 million range. You think they're gonna
Right.
give that money to that program and not expect their message to be implemented? Like, that would be ridiculous. Of course,
Mhm.
they're not doing it out of the good capitalists are never doing anything out of the goodness of their hearts.
No.
So, yeah.
Like, even the Rockefellers or the, Carnegies or whatever, they put, they put the Carnegie Hall up because they have their name on it, so their name is associated with art and not with monopolizing the steel
Right.
industry.
Yeah, because and at that time, I think it was actually, Carnegie that, an investigative journalist had exposed them for the, horrible stuff that they had done, so that's yeah,
Mhm,
exactly it. It's a
mhm.
very much,
Just buy yourself some goodwill even
yep,
in that.
yep. No, it's interesting now, it was, like, 6 months ago that I saw Bill Gates on Stephen Colbert, and now that all this stuff is coming out, I was like, "Yeah," and he was talking about his philanthropy and how he
Oh
wants
my
to give
god.
away all of his money before he dies, and I'm like, "Yep, you were trying to get ahead of what you knew was coming."
I hate
Um
Bill Gates so much. I hated him way before that because I was a school teacher for a lot of years. People may remember that Waiting for Superman, which was something that was on Oprah, where they essentially promoted like the sort of like school reform
Mhm.
period. Spent like millions, like hundreds of millions of dollars to essentially change how schools work, focusing on accountability of teachers, which is not like accountability of teachers is not associated with learning and learning levels and achievement levels or whatever, which are also kind of BS in
Right.
and of themselves. Guess what the number one contributing factor of whether or not someone achieves a high level, or I guess correlation of whether or not you go to college. Just guess what the strongest contributing factor is.
Standardized testing?
No, socioeconomic status. Whether or not you're
Oh,
wealthier people are
yeah.
more likely to have better educational outcomes because they don't have to worry about sleeping in their car at night or getting all of their meals or whatever.
Oh, and I
And
knew, rich
mhm,
kids who had personal, tutors,
yeah,
in high school, which
and
obviously
and and
helps you.
standardized testing was also a big part of it, a part of
Right.
this accountability and all
Which
this other
I
stuff. It
always
didn't
have
even
a gripe
necessarily
with because 'cause I'm a
yeah.
horrible test taker, and it's
Yeah, it's not even a good measure, and but the whole reason of it is not necessarily. I mean, it's to create this narrative that we're always behind in education. One, that's the narrative
mhm,
that they wanted to create, and two, the second part of that is, well, it's the damn teacher's fault, which is an attack on labor. It's an
right,
attack on workers.
right. Nope, and I mean, it's interesting kind of having to deprogram a lot of the conservative ways I'm thinking because of course
Mhm,
the ways I was thinking because of course yes I like left my evangelical church when I was like 17 and then I went through
mhm.
an agnostic phase but that doesn't mean I didn't still have a lot of conservative um luckily I dated a guy usually my stories result from me dating someone but I
It
dated a
sounds like a good
guy
one, at least.
his mom was a a public school teacher, and
Mhm,
she actually kind of taught me about the teachers union and got
mhm,
me a little better minded because growing up, I was very I was exposed to very anti-union rhetoric, very
mhm.
anti-teacher rhetoric, all this
It's
stuff that was
everywhere,
yep, that
even
was
among
more like it
teachers.
was so indoctrinated into just the way I was that even more recently I had to really deprogram all of that and learn
Mhm,
how and why things happen. I mean, even like in the last year, I had to have a pretty deep discussion with my Twitch stream about unions and because my dad works for the airlines and of course that is a complicated place given the fact that the what is it? The Railroad Act makes it so that
Railway Labor Act,
yeah, they make it
RLA.
so that they can't go on strike unless they have permission from the government, which kinda defeats the whole point.
There's a whole
And
process that they have to go
yep.
through in order to get approval.
Yep. So in other words, just in general, I always had like a very skewed point of view on like, well, these specific airlines are part of unions and yet they don't get paid as much as Delta, and so clearly unions suck. You know, it was like that mentality. But like I said, that's just like how I was raised, and when you look at it from the
Yeah.
outside without knowing the laws around it, it can be very misleading. Um, but yeah,
Well, we are coming up on our to the end of the hour.
okay.
But is there anything else that you wanted to say before we say goodbye?
We didn't talk about Hassan Piker enough. So
Oh, well, you have 3 minutes to talk about Hassan Piker.
I'm kidding. I would rather talk about Kaya, his dog. And if anybody is listening to this and have no clue who I'm talking about, it's okay.
It's
You're not
totally
missing.
okay.
At
Just
this
turn
point,
on
that would be really
CNN
odd
or
though, because apparently Fox News can't shut up about him, nor
yeah.
can the left, nor
Well,
can girls on the internet. So,
yeah,
I guess we're stuck with it.
we're stuck with it. But yeah, so Lisa, where can we find what do you do and where can people find you?
I stream on Twitch, on weekdays. Central. I'm used to saying central because I'm from Minnesota, but I'm currently in the east. I'm in Georgia, so
Mhm.
I stream from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. I do like 3 hours of art in the morning, and that's at Lisa is Learning on Twitch, and you can catch me there. Hopefully, hopefully I was normie enough for you guys to enjoy what I had to say. Um, that's what we can hope for here.
Yeah, normie content over at Lisa's Learning.
Yes, normie content.
Well, thank you so much. I really did enjoy talking with you, and it's going to be great having you as Robert's permanent
Yes,
replacement
I'm the
forever. I
new
mean,
host. Let's go.
he's gone.
I cannot replace Robert. He definitely brings his A game and is way funnier than me. So
Well, thank you everybody for listening to Good Morning Comrade. You can check us out every Saturday at 10 a.m. We might be moving soon, so we might need to check that when that happens. But you can also check us out on YouTube, on Twitch. You can find all of our stuff on goodmorningcomrade.com. You can also find us on This Space on YouTube. Just Google This Space. We come on, I think, on Tuesday afternoons there. Good morning, comrade, in the afternoon. Yeah, thank you so much, Lisa. It has been a pleasure, and thank you everybody for listening. We love you. Bye bye.
bye bye.
This is WHIVLP New Orleans 102.3.